visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So, 1 second. 1 second.
No, sir.
1 second. 1 second. Okay, present now. Now I think it is visible now. Is it visible?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yes, sir.
Mister?
Yes, sir.
Slide is visible. Okay. Yeah, we'll start. So yesterday, this is what we learned basically fracture mechanics theory. So in this, fracture mechanics presumes the presence of a crack. The stress rate in the region of crack may be plane stress or plane strain. Then zone of yielding around the crack is small compared to dimensions of the part. That means the crack is very small. And then in that case only we can apply linear elastic fracture mechanics theory. And then linear elastic fracture mechanics assume that the bulk of material behaves as per Hooke's law, which is essentially stress is proportional to strain. This is what we learned, and we have taken the sketch, yesterday itself. We
Yes,
have
sir.
noted
Yes,
this.
sir.
Yeah. Now, in continuation with that, now let's learn about what are the different modes of crack displacement. So it assumes that there's a crack already present in the component. Okay. So what are the different modes of crack displacement, or how crack propagates, or how crack behaves, is what we are going to learn now. So depending on the orientation of loading, okay, whether it is tensile load, whether it's shear load, whether it's uniformly equal and opposite loads, so is what we need to see here. Depending on the orientation of loading versus the crack, the applied loads may tend to pull the crack open in tension. That is essentially mode 1 like this. That is, you are going to pull these two in opposite direction like this. So it is like opening of a crocodile's mouth, correct? So the crack which is present will go in this direction. So there is the pull the crack open in tension. So this is mode 1 type of crack displacement. Second one is shear the crack in plane. So when you apply load in this direction, so there is going to be shear the crack, okay, the in plane. This is in plane or mode 2 crack displacement. And then third one is tear it out of the plane. That is, you pull it in this direction, pull this fellow in this direction. So the plate is going to, or material is going to get torn out, or tearing off the component takes place when you have load one in this direction and another is in this direction. Okay, that means you can take it as, if you take this as y direction, this is going to be x direction pulling. So when you have x direction pulling, it will essentially tear the plate, okay, tear the plate or component. And this type of failure is called mode 3 crack displacement rather, okay. So you have three modes of crack displacement. One is mode 1, second is mode 2, and third is mode 3. So in mode 1 crack displacement, it will pull the crack open in tension. In mode 2, you will have the shear the crack in plane. Okay, the load will shear the crack in plane. And in mode 3, it will tear it out of the plane. This is mode 3 type of crack displacement. So, but out of these three, the most important, or the maximum work is going to be carried out in for tensile loading case, that is essentially mode 1 type of crack displacement. So this is the one which is very important and which is used, or all the works are carried out based on for tensile loading case, that is mode 1 type of crack displacement. Okay, so three types of crack displacement. Mithun, please read first one. Yeah.
pull the crack open in tension.
So that is mode 1.
Yes, sir.
Mode number second one.
Shear the crack in plane mode. Mode 2.
And Sukrut, third one.
Shear or tear it out of plane. Mode 3, sir.
That is mode 3. Okay. Now what you do, take out your notebook, note down these 3 sketches clearly and write mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, and note down that pull the crack open in tension. Second one, shear the crack in plane and tear it out of the plane is mode 3. Please note down these 3 sketches. Very important. In your notebooks, please note down those 3 sketches. Note down the sketch clearly and note down the description for mode 1, mode 2 and mode 3. Modes of crack displacement. Finished, huh?
No, sir.
Okay. Write down clearly. Mode 1, it will pull the load will pull the crack open in tension. In mode 2, the load will shear the crack in plane. And in mode 3, the load will tear it out of the plane. So out of the three modes of crack displacement, first one is the most important one. Most of the fracture mechanics research and testing is devoted to tensile loading case, as in mode 1.
Finished, sir.
Finished, yeah? Okay. Is it finished?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let's understand what is a stress intensity factor K. Please note down stress intensity factor K. Please note down stress intensity factor K. Okay. So coming to the same figure that we have taken yesterday. Okay. So this figure shows a plate of width 2b. Okay. This is a plate of width 2b which is subjected to tension, and it has got a through crack of width 2a. Okay. This is 2a, so therefore this is a in the center of the plate. The crack is assumed to be sharp at its ends. And very, very important is B is much larger than A. That means that is the presence of crack is, and the distance from margin of the plate to the presence of crack is very, 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 very large. That's why there are so many greater than. That is, it indicates that that is the dimension of the plate is much, much larger than the crack. Okay. So 1 second. Okay, so the dimension of the plate is much, much larger than the dimension of the crack. That's all it all says. Okay, this crack is very, very, very small compared to the dimensions of the plate. And this plate with central crack is subjected to tensile load. Now, a small part of this crack, that is end of this crack, is taken over here, and the polar coordinates in terms of r and theta is set up in the xy plane with its origin to be at crack tip. Okay, so this is the crack tip and this is the crack. So in the xy plane, we have taken one polar coordinate system is being set up. Polar coordinate system is set up in r and theta. Okay, are you there? So polar coordinate system is essentially for rotation, correct? X and y coordinate system is essentially for translation. Are you there? Okay. Now, further, from the theory of linear elasticity, for B larger than A, that is the dimension of the plate being very, very large compared to the size of the crack, the stresses around the crack tip is expressed as function of polar coordinates. What are the polar coordinates? They are r and theta. Correct? Polar coordinates are r and theta. So the stresses are expressed as a function of polar coordinates in terms of r and theta. So sigma x in x, stress in x direction, stress in y direction, and the shear stress is given by these equations, and the sigma z, okay, is equal to nu of sigma x plus sigma y for plane stress, tau xy z is equal to tau z is equal to 0 for plane strain. So the stresses diminish rapidly as r increases because r is in denominator, r is inversely proportional to the stress. So therefore, the stresses will come down rapidly as r increases, and angle theta defines the geometric distribution of stresses around the crack tip at any radius. And the quantity K is called the stress intensity factor. So stress intensity factor is directly proportional to the stress. Okay, so as K increases, sigma x also increases. That means essentially what we have taken is we have taken a large plate with very small crack. So the crack at crack tip, we have in the XY plane, we have set up a polar coordinate system in the form of r and theta. Okay, and the stresses are expressed as function of polar coordinates, that is r and theta. Okay, and this is the equation for stresses in x, y, and shear stress, and also for plane stress and plane strain. So what you do is, please note down these equations into your notebook. This is tau xy. Okay, note down these equations in your notebook. Okay. Can you see the equations? Please note down K divided by root of 2 pi r. After 2 pi r, this cos theta does not have root. Okay, please remember K by root 2 pi r, then multiply by cos of theta by 2 into 1 minus sin theta by 2, and so on. Okay, cos theta is not in denominator. So please remember, maybe it is confusing. What I do is, I'll just put one star there. Okay. You understand what I am telling?
Yes, sir.
K by 2 pi r, finished. Then cos theta by 2 of 1 minus sin theta by 2 divided by 2 sin theta by 2 into sin theta by 2 into, okay, sin theta by 2 into sin 3 theta by 2, and so on. Hope this will clear the confusion. Sigma z is equal to Poisson's ratio of, essentially this should have been plane strain, probably. This is for plane strain you take, because when Poisson's ratio comes into picture, it should be plane strain. No doubt. Noted down the equations?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, we are into learning stress intensity factor for a large plate with a small crack present, and expressed the crack tip being expressed in terms of polar coordinates r and theta. And these are the expressions for the stresses in x, y, and directions, and shear stress, and then expression for stress in z direction for plane strain condition. And as we know from the equation, as r increases, the stresses will diminish or come down. Okay, and then the quantity K is called the stress intensity factor. Now, the high stresses near the crack tip cause local yielding and create a plastic zone of radius R. Okay, so as R decreases, stress automatically increases, right? So for any radius r and angle theta, the stress state in the plastic zone at crack tip is directly proportional to stress intensity factor. So it is obvious from this equation that as the stress intensity factor increases, stress also will go up. Okay, that's why. So the plastic zone at crack tip is directly proportional to stress intensity factors K. So therefore, if B is larger than A, then stress intensity factor is given by sigma nominal multiplied by root of 3.14 into the size of the crack. Okay, so that means this is the factor by which the stress intensity factor goes up when you multiply it by sigma naught. Is that okay? So please note down this expression. If B is very larger than A, then K is equal to sigma nominal into root of pi into A, where A is the crack length. Please note down this expression. K is equal to sigma nominal into root of pi into A. Next. So now let's look at the fundamentals of LEFM and application to fatigue crack growth. So what we have learned so far is we learned about what is fracture mechanics. Then we learned about presence of crack and why the crack will propagate, present and then propagate. What are the different methods wherein the cracks can present. And then we learned about fracture mechanics theory, which assumes presence of a crack, and LEFM assumes that the material behaves according to Hooke's law. And then we learned about various modes of crack displacement. Now let's understand what the fundamentals of LEFM. Whenever we say LEFM, it assumes that there's a presence of crack, and also it assumes that the bulk of material behaves according to Hooke's law, that is stress is proportional to strain, and applications to fatigue crack growth. Okay, so these are the things that we need to understand. Now, so fracture mechanics, as you know, it is heavily used in aerospace because that is where, and nuclear and ship industry, because in aerospace industry, the cost is so high that they want to use the components more effectively, okay, to reduce cost of operation. So therefore, the fracture mechanics concept is used heavily in aerospace industry, and nowadays it is also extended to ground vehicle industry so that life of the components can be enhanced and in turn reduce the cost of the product. Then the presence of crack can significantly reduce the life of a component. So that is obvious. Okay, what will happen if you have a small crack present somewhere on the rim of a bicycle or a bike? So as you keep using the bike, the crack will propagate and finally the rim will fail. So therefore, the presence of a crack will definitely reduce the life of the component or structure. So this chapter introduces the concept and use of fracture mechanics for fatigue crack growth. Okay, this is very, very important. So fracture mechanics subject is used or theory is used for understanding fatigue crack growth and damage tolerant design. Damage tolerant design we learned in our module 1. So this is what, right? So next. So we learned about the stress intensity factor as well. In order to make life estimation or predictions, following information is required. One is stress intensity factor. Second one is fracture toughness. Third one is applicable fatigue crack growth rate expression. That is, we need an expression, okay, to understand the fatigue crack growth rate. That is the rate at which the fatigue crack will grow. So for that we need an expression. Then we need to know the initial size of the crack, that is AI or AO, and the final or critical crack size AF or AC. Okay, these are the 5 parameters that are required for estimating the life or making the predictions of life when you have the presence of a crack by applying the fracture mechanics theory. So what is the basic presumption in fracture mechanics theory? Can anyone tell me? What is the assumption for fracture mechanics theory? Yeah, it presumes what? What does the fracture mechanics theory presumes?
It assumes,
Ah,
predicts and assumes
assumes what?
behavior of the crack growth.
No. Fracture mechanics presumes the presence of what?
Crack.
Presence of a crack. Okay, that means there is already a crack present in the material. Are you there? Okay. Okay. Are you there? So when
Yes,
we
sir.
are
Yes,
applying
sir.
fracture mechanics theory means there is a presence of crack. Correct? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
The crack size is 2A is what we have taken. So we are interested in crack size also. Okay. So fracture mechanics presumes the presence of a crack already. And next, coming back to the discussion, right? So it presumes the presence of a crack. So to estimate or predict the life of the component, we need these many factors. We need stress intensity factor. What is stress intensity factor? Is what we learned just now. So as stress intensity factor is increases, stress also increases. So we need to have stress intensity factor, which is essentially given by sigma nominal into root of pi into A. What does this A stands for? What does this A stands for? Go
Crack
back
length.
to sketch and check. What does this A stands for?
Crack length.
Size of? Yeah, size
Crack
of
length.
crack length. Yeah, right. So to estimate or predict the life, okay, using fracture mechanics theory. Fracture mechanics theory presumes the presence of crack already. Okay, so we need to have stress intensity factor essentially given by sigma nominal into root of pi into A. Then we need fracture toughness to understand the strain behavior. Then we need to have an expression to estimate the rate of fatigue crack growth. Then we need initial crack size. Then we need final crack size, right? So cracks can form due to fatigue or they can exist as a consequence of manufacturing process such as machining marks, voids, inclusions, metallurgical discontinuities, etc. Correct? Do you agree with me how cracks are formed? This we learned yesterday also. It is because of presence of inclusions, voids, and the inclusions, etc., or because of manufacturing process, maybe during welding, riveting, okay, and grinding cracks, all those things. So cracks can form in many ways. So the fracture mechanics theory assumes the presence of crack already. So to estimate the life or predict the life of the component which has got the crack present, so we need stress intensity factor, which is essentially nominal stress multiplied by crack length. Then we need fracture toughness to understand strain, plastic strain. Then we need an expression, crack growth rate calculation. Then we need to have initial and final size of the crack. Are you there? Could you understand now clearly? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Please note down this. Please note down these 5 points. To note down this also, to make life estimations or predictions, following information is required. Note down this. To make life estimations or predictions, following information is required. The following information are these 5. Note down these 5 informations that are required to estimate the life of a component which has got crack already using fracture mechanics theory. You got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Noted? Noted?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mohan Ambal, you start with reading the sentence. Please read the sentence. First one. In order to make.
In order to make life estimations or predictions, following information is required. The stress intensity factor K, the fracture toughness Kc, the applicable fatigue crack growth rate expression, the initial crack size, and
Estimations.
the
Yeah.
in order to
Please read
make
more
life
number.
estimation,
Our predictions.
in order to make life estimations or predictions, following information is required.
Yeah.
The stress intensity factor K.
Okay. Next, Mithun. Next one.
The fracture toughness Kc.
Okay. Next, Sukrut.
The applicable fatigue crack growth rate expression.
Okay. Next, Sandesh.
The initial crack size AI and AO. The
AI or AO. It is not and.
yes, sir.
Okay. Next, Dhanush.
The final or critical crack size AF or AC.
Okay. Dhanush,
Yes, sir.
read all the five one after the other. If right from here, in order to make life estimations, please read all the five.
Yes, sir. In order to make life estimations or predictions, following information is required.
Okay.
The stress intensity factor K, the fracture
Okay.
toughness Kc, the
Okay.
applicable fatigue crack growth rate expression, the initial
Okay.
crack size AI or A naught, the final
Okay.
or critical crack size AF or AC.
Okay. Right now. So these are the five informations that are required to estimate or predict the life. Correct? Using fracture mechanics theory, which presumes the presence of crack. So crack can come because of inclusions, voids, manufacturing processes, and so on. Okay. Next. So use of fracture mechanics in fatigue crack growth and damp requires knowledge of these pre-existing cracks, either assumed or found using non-destructive flaw detection techniques. So that is using X-ray technique or whatever, which is non-destructive testing method. So it either assumes the presence of crack or which the crack is found using the non-destructive testing technique. So essentially, this chapter provides important aspects of LEFM and shows how they are used to describe and predict fatigue, crack, growth, and fracture. Okay, this is what LEFM does or shows. Okay, It essentially shows how they are used to describe and predict the fatigue crack growth rate. So to predict the fatigue crack growth or life estimation, we need 5 informations: stress intensity factor, fracture toughness, expression for fatigue crack growth, and the initial and final crack sizes. Okay, now let's come to LEFM concepts. Please take the heading as LEFM concepts. So essentially, fracture mechanics is used to evaluate strength of a structure or component in the presence of crack or flaw. This is very, very important. Okay, so essentially it is used, okay, to evaluate the strength of structure or a component in the presence of flaw or crack. This is essentially what we were learning in the beginning, that the fracture mechanics theory assumes the presence of what? Presumes the presence of
Crack.
crack. Okay, so this is what is all about. Okay, so fracture mechanics is used to evaluate strength of a component in the presence of a crack. Its application to fatigue involves the crack growth process. Okay, so this process corresponds to fatigue crack growth regions. Again, LEFM method is used to determine crack growth in materials under the assumptions that the what? It is predominantly linear elastic. So that is the basic concept of LEFM, which is essentially linear elastic. So within elastic region, Hooke's law is applicable where stress is proportional to strain. Okay. So stress is proportional to strain is what it assumes. So essentially, it assumes that material conditions are predominantly linear elastic during fatigue process. That means it will not cross elastic region during fatigue process. And loading modes by which a crack can extend on, we just now learned mode 1, mode 2, mode 3. So what is mode 1? Dhanush or Sukrut, what is mode 1? Mode 1 is?
Pull the crack open intention.
Okay, crack open intention. Correct? Okay. Mode number, what is mode 2?
Shear the crack in plane.
In plane. Correct. Third one?
Tearing.
Mithun?
Outplane shear.
Pardon me?
Sir, shear or tear it out of plane.
Tear it out of plane. So that is, there are the 3 modes of loading. So only mode 1 crack extension will be covered because mode 2 and mode 3 are rarely used. So only mode 1 crack extension will be covered. Okay. So LEFM adopts fracture mechanics, which essentially presumes the presence of a crack. Correct. And then LEFM method assumes that the material conditions are predominantly linear elastic during fatigue process. So linear elastic during fatigue process means what? It behaves as per which law? It behaves as per
Hooke's law.
Hooke's law. Excellent. Okay, which essentially states that stress is proportional to strain within elastic limits. Then loading modes in case of for crack is mode 1, 2, and 3. So only mode 1 crack extension will be covered as it is extensively used. Yeah, in mode 1 type of crack extension, cracks tends to grow on the plane of maximum tensile stress. This is typical mode of crack extension for uniaxially loaded component. Then come to one after the other. The first information that is required is stress intensity factor. So Griffith showed that the product of far field stress, yes, okay, and the square root of crack length A and material properties governed the crack extension for brittle materials such as glass or cast iron. So where stress intensity factor according to Griffith is given by S into root of pi into A, where stress S is the stress, A is crack length. And then this product was shown to be related to energy or rate of energy release G which represents essentially elastic energy per unit crack surface area. So you take unit crack surface area, maybe 1 millimeter square or even 0.1 millimeter square. So the elastic energy per unit crack surface area for crack extension. So using Griffith's approach, G is equal to K square by E for plane stress, and G is equal to K square by E into 1 minus nu square for plane strain. So whenever you have got presence of Poisson's ratio, it's going to be plane strain condition. So Irwin showed by modifying the Griffiths equation, Irwin showed there is a presence of G, that is rate of energy, considering rate of energy release rate. So he arrived at an equation for rate of the energy release rate, that is G is equal to K square by E, where K stands for stress intensity factor, E is Young's modulus for plane stress, and for plane strain, K square by E into 1 minus nu square. Okay, this is according to Irwin. So now what you do, you write down Griffith's equation, K is equal to S into root of pi A, and according to Irwin, it is G is equal to K square by E for plane stress, and G is equal to K square by E into 1 minus nu square for plane strain. Please note down these equations. Again here it is into. It is not in the denominator. Okay, K square by E multiplied by 1 minus nu square for plane strain. So this is according to Griffith, this is according to Irwin. Okay, noted. Finished, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, now we will go back to the sketch. Okay, so what we have taken is A to B, the length of crack, XY coordinates, considered polar coordinates in terms of r and theta at crack tip. Now taking that here. Okay, so this is the crack. This is the length of crack A. This is XY plane, and this is r and theta coordinates. Okay, so we have considered a through thickness sharp crack in linear elastic isotropic body subjected to mode 1. Again, mode 1 only is covered. Mode 2 and mode 3 are not used. Okay, mode 1 is essentially it is subjected to tensile stress. Okay, so we are now considering a body which is subjected to mode 1 type of loading, that is essentially tensile stress. An arbitrary stress element in the vicinity of the crack. So near the crack, we have taken a small element in r and theta coordinates relative to the crack tip, and crack plane is also shown, right? So what we have done is near the crack, we have considered a small element. We have considered a small element near the vicinity or near the crack tip with coordinates r and theta. So you agree with me? So there is a crack which is taken, which is essentially in linear elastic isotropic body, which is subjected to mode 1 type of loading. A stress element near the crack is taken with coordinates of r and theta. Okay, is taken, and now using mathematical theory of linear elasticity, elastic stresses near the crack tip, that is r by a, which is less than 1. So essentially sigma y is given by this expression, sigma x tau xy, then sigma x xz, and tau xz is equal to 0 for plane stress. And this is equation for plane strain, and this is for again plane strain where shear stress is absent in z direction. That's why it is 0, taken as 0, because we are considering only x and y plane. So z direction we don't have any strain that is assumed. Okay, so essentially it depends again on r and theta. Okay, so now what you do, please note down this sketch. Please note down this sketch. Note it down. Completed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll revise what we learned today. So what are the things that we learned today is, okay, fractal mechanics theory presumes presence of a crack. LEFM assumes the metal behavior is assumed in LEFM as it obeys Hooke's law. Then we learned about the modes of crack displacement. So there are 3 modes of crack displacement. One is pull the crack open in tension. Second mode is shear the crack in plane. In third one, the load will tear it out of plane, that is mode 3. And mode 1 is extensively used in all research and testing. Okay, so mode 1 is only important. Next, we learned about stress intensity factor. We take a large plate with a small crack, and then near the crack tip in xy plane, a polar coordinate system is set up with r and theta. Okay, is taken at the crack tip. Then stress intensity factor essentially shows that the stresses are directly proportional to intensity factor K, and as r diminishes, the stress will increase. Okay, or stress will come down as r increases, right? So that is the radius, right? Next, we learned about stress intensity factor K, which is given by nominal stress multiplied by root of pi a, where a is the crack length. Then we learned about again the fundamentals of LEFM, which essentially takes that the material will behave as per Hooke's law. And then the fracture mechanics is heavily used in aerospace applications. Okay, and then in order to make life estimations or predictions, the following information is required. So what are the informations that are required to predict the life? Or we need stress intensity factor, we need fracture toughness, we need expression for crack growth, and initial and final size of the crack is what is required. And then we learned about the LEFM concept. Then we learned about Griffith and Irwin equations. Okay, we'll continue further day after tomorrow, correct? We have class on Thursday again. Okay, so we can continue on Thursday. Is that okay?